All right, welcome in Mason Voth, Drew Galloway here with you. KSO Postgame live after K-State's first meeting with a power conference opponent this season. It is Cal, and surprisingly, yes, ACC team, second year of that being a real thing. And look, the first half was one of the more exciting halves of K-State basketball that's been played probably since the first year of Jerome Tang, but there were 20 minutes left, and I didn't think it could get as close as it did. Now, some of you are probably not too thrilled about it. Look, I'm certainly not excited about the way the final score ends up looking, but I've got some math that I did to explain it a little bit more and how I'm going to outline why I'm not panicking about it. And like it's discouraging because we know that in this era, winning by a lot matters for the net. So that's significant. And it's just, people are going to look at it and go, oh, 99-96 against Cal. Like, you got to get out of there. Look, they made it way too uncomfortable in the last minute, but K-State was always in control of this game. And we'll get into to some of that. But Drew, I'll let you just fire off to start. Initial thoughts and opinions on how K-State performed as a team tonight.
Yeah, the thing for me with this is that we all saw the game play out. So like that first 25 minutes is probably what you're going to remember more from this game as the season plays out than the fact that it was only a 3-point and almost only a 1-point win because it was close on that tip in. But you saw that this team is very dangerous. You also saw what scares people about this team. The defense in the second half didn't have near the same energy and focus and intensity that it did in the first half. And I mean, it almost came back to bite them, but it never felt like Cal was never really going to win the game. It was just how much is K-State going to end up winning by. Then, I mean, and I think that's kind of what clouds this performance is you still didn't win by double digits because this game was so out of hand so early. So to not win this game by more feels kind of like you left something out there, but also kind of gives them something to look at and to get kind of angry about and want to fix. Because this is a very new team. It's not really necessarily a young team, but it's a new team all playing together. I think it was pretty easy when they got up 25 to just say, okay, we're shutting it down. And then Cal hits a lot of tough shots and more tough shots and more tough shots. There were some legitimate defensive breakdowns in the second half, but a lot of it was just good shot making. And that's one where you just say, okay, like good shot, like we'll go try and match it on the other end. And for probably 35 minutes of this game, K-State was able to match it on the other end. It was just that last 5 minutes where the offense got a little stale, got a little cold, missed some free throws down the stretch. Because I mean, if K-State also doesn't have the Nate Johnson missed free throw, doesn't have 3 PJ Haggerty missed free throws, like the end of the game feels a lot different.
So a couple of things on that. You're right. There were some defensive breakdowns, a little lazy defense at times in the second half. That all occurred when K-State had a huge lead still.
Yes.
And I mean, look, K-State didn't grow the lead. They didn't win by 40 after being up by 20 at halftime like people would have wanted. But I was going to come in here and commend them for how they finish things out. Like, because I think you're in a weird spot when you're in a game like that and you come out and you dominate the first 20 minutes the way that they did. You're in such a weird position with how this team plays. And that's why I think like a little bit of a learning experience for them tonight. They're going to have to make the decision. Okay, are we the type of the team when we get in this position, do we just keep playing the way we play and we're either going to win by 40 or we're going to be in games like this? Or do we try to change how we play a little bit to protect things? When Cal made this thing close, they were just hitting ungodly shots in this game. I don't think it was anything that K-State was doing wrong. And to prove that, you and I talked yesterday when we were looking ahead to this game about Cal has not been a good shooting team through the first 3 games of the season. The numbers for you on this. First 3 games of the year for Cal, 28.4% tonight, 53.6%. That's not just a bad defense thing for K-State. If a team is shooting under 29%, they're just not good at shooting the basketball. That looks like Jeff Mitty basketball prior to like the last 2 years with those teams. What percentage of your field goal attempts were threes? First 3 games for Cal, 40.7 tonight, 45.2. What percentage of your points came from beyond the 3-point line? First 3, 24.5% tonight, 46.8%. It was an anomaly for Cal. I already put it in my calendar, Drew, that on January 17th, because we're going to have a late night when K-State plays Oklahoma State in Stillwater, we are going to look back and see if Cal has had a game that they have shot like this at that point, because I guarantee you Cal will not shoot the basketball from 3 like this the rest of the season. So I'm not going to overreact to it. We're going to talk so much more about what K-State did tonight than this game getting close or anything. And here, just to illustrate some other things too, because you're probably going, well, like K-State still shot it really well from 3 tonight, so like no real excuse there. Here's the difference. First 2 games for K-State, their norm 56%. Tonight, 50% from 3. That's worse. How much of your field goal attempts were made up by threes? First 2 games, 41.7%. Tonight, 30.5%. That's worse. What percentage of your points came from 3? First 2 games, 44%. Tonight, 27%. So look, that's how this thing goes. That's basketball. Teams get hot. Teams make shots. I don't think it's indicative of anything that K-State did wrong tonight.
It almost felt a little bit like the Newman game, where Newman was able to shoot a lot of threes and make a lot of threes that weren't just tough threes. It was like legitimate shot making. The stats that I bring forth to you are not nearly as complex, and just kind of a fun assessment of how how basketball goes and what something might need to be checked out. Obviously, it was a men and women doubleheader tonight, as we know. 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. weird, and they made people leave and come back, whatever. That side of the court that Cal was on, the away bench, that got 38 points in the second half from South Dakota. They got the 55 points from K-State in the first half for the men. They got the 62 points in the second half for Cal. Maybe that side of the court, there's just something going on there.
You know what's strange about that is that's the side of the court where it's supposed to be harder because the tunnel's right there. Yeah. So that's why the visitor has that side in the second half, is because you're trying to make it tougher on them. But I get why people would be upset about it, and I'm not telling you to be pleased by it. Like, this isn't a performance to go and brag about for K-State.
It would have been if they would have won by 40, which it looked like they were going to for a little bit.
Or if they retained what they did in the first half. But like, this is not something that should drive you over a cliff for how this team played tonight or what it means moving forward. Like, from what I saw, look, this team, and let's just boil it down to this, make it even simpler. If you think this team played bad tonight, okay, that's great. But you know what? If you played bad and you scored 99 points, you're not going to lose many basketball games this year. Because You know what we haven't seen yet is, even if you want to say that K-State's played crappy defense at times, nobody scored more than them. Nobody's ever threatened in the last 5 minutes of a game to score more than them. So, like, until we see that happen, and maybe it does. Maybe Indiana does it in 2 weeks in Bloomington. And K-State loses the game 4-101. I don't know.
That Indiana game in 2 weeks, the total can't be low enough for me to want to go under. That could be a game that could be insanely high scoring. But yeah, I mean, there was so much good that came out of tonight that it does kind of feel weird to, in a 3-point game, say like how well certain things went. That first half defense, especially in the half court, was as connected and as good as K-State has played defensively in the 4 times previous that we had seen them play. And I think that also kind of like sucks about allowing 62 points in the second half. But like K-State was like legitimately dominating defensively against a Power 5 team, albeit Cal not a world beater. But I posted about it the first half. Like the difference in the shots that the two teams were getting was like astounding. K-State was able to get 2 feet in the paint, was able to get layups, was able to get drives and kicks down low, were able to drive and kick out for threes. And Cal was like settling for a lot of tough shots and missing a lot of shots. And again, it didn't play out that way in the second half, but to see that there is that light bulb of like, if this team plays really, really good offense, which they did in the first half, and is just good defensively, they can blow a lot of teams out of the water.
Yeah, look, you can look at the schedule and go and pick things out. Because I was thinking about this, in the first half is if you get a team, because this is kind of what we saw, like Cal playing to what they had been the first 3 games of their season was, they were going to go out there and they don't shoot the ball very well. So you're going to be able to pull away and do some really nasty things to some teams. So if you go and you pick out now K-State teams outside of the Ken Palm top 75 or 100, K-State's going to manhandle that. I don't have much question about that. Then you get to, if there are teams inside of it that are good, like you are going to be a little bit more matchup dependent, but like I'm saying that in a good way, because if you play a team that doesn't shoot the ball very well, then I think K-State's going to be favored in that setting. So this team's in a good spot. And the other thing that I would point out, as I'll highlight some of the player stats tonight for K-State, if you're worried about the fact that K-State has shot 50% or better from 3 in the first 3 games of the season, you're like, that's not sustainable. You're right. Shooting it at, let's see what it officially is for the season now, 54.4%, best in the country. That is not going to last this year. It's going to come down. But this team has so many guys that can knock it down that, I mean, the chances of having everybody have an off night are minuscule. And, some of the other oddities of this game is the fact that there was some weird foul trouble involved for K-State. So Abdi Bashir, it felt like he was barely on the court, especially in the first half. You look, I mean, second half he played 14 minutes, but, whatever. Andre Kostic didn't do a whole lot tonight. He's going to have games, though, where he's going to have some 20-point games this year, and he's going to knock down shots from the outside. So it's not going to be as important for some of the other guys. Also strange, like PJ Haggerty didn't get a 3 off in the second half. Now, technically he did, and they called a BS foul, which I would suggest that maybe if a guy gets called for it twice in a game, maybe that's just how he shoots the basketball. And we don't need to be so, hey, look at me, cock of the walk ref on the kicking the leg out offensive foul call. But K-State is going to be more immune than a lot of teams that shoot the ball well, because you're going to be able to throw so many guys out there that could knock it down and make it matter. Haggerty, we know, okay, you're comfortable there. Nate Johnson can do it. Abdi Bashir can do it. Kostic is going to have games where he does it. As we've seen, David Castillo is a legitimate ball player now for K-State. That's big time. You're going to have, and then, you're going to have moments where a guy like, I think Elias Rapiak is going to knock down a couple for you.
Kamari McGriff looked pretty good shooting it on his one attempt.
He threw one out there. And look, CJ Jones had a game or two last year where he was good enough to supplement some things on offense. Like, I'm not saying this team is crazy deep to where they're invincible against everybody, but if you're fearing that there's going to be some bottoming out game or it's going to happen numerous times, I would kind of push that to the wayside and not worry about it right now, because there are so many guys that they're going to be able to mostly sustain the way they play. Now, it is still significant to have these key guys out there. So, you need Haggerty or Johnson to make this thing go, or Bashir. because it's, they have the skill and the IQ to make it go, but you're not going to be reliant on them to make shots all of the time.
I would also like to point out too, when you're pointing out, the shooting isn't necessarily, it's not sustainable to shoot 54% as a team. Like, that's absurd. But also, like you point out, the amount of players that can make them. I would also like to point out, and I'll probably need to go and rewatch this game and kind of backtrack over the last, because I'm still counting the 2 exhibitions as like times that we've seen them play, but like the last 5 times that we've seen them play, because they've shot the ball extremely well in all 5 games. How many shots are open, or like that's a good shot for somebody? Because it feels like most of the threes that they take, it's not a guy just like forcing up a shot. And even like when Abdi Bashir pulls up from 30 feet in transition, that's a good shot for him. And that's in rhythm for him. And he can knock it down. And he has the 2 times that he's done it. There will be a time where he does it and misses in a big game where people want to rip their hair out. But that's just who he is. But I think that is also part of why, even though the 54% isn't sustainable as a number, it feels like the good shooting will still be sustainable. I also saw a comment saying that it's wild that they didn't get to 100 tonight, and I could not agree more. That also felt like it feels like a hollow kind of game.
Well, I'm still thinking about the over-unders that you set before the season, and I was like, yeah, they're going to crush it. And here they are. They flirted with it in all 3 games, and I was like, it's going to happen tonight. And PJ Haggerty, Mr. Free Throws, can't make one at the end.
And neither did Nate Johnson. Like, it was wild that they couldn't get to 100 tonight.
Here's what I will say that I didn't like from that is that both guys got up there, and the way they shot it didn't look like it had a chance. Like, I didn't like the vibes and the feel that they gave off there. So that's going to need to improve. Like, this team, they did tighten up a little bit when it happens. I mean, you led by 20 some in this game, and all of a sudden you look up and you're like, holy crap. They could legitimately tie us here.
Yeah, I think that it was just a holy crap, this can't actually be happening kind of tightening up. I also see somebody in the comments saying that Kostic looked rough tonight. This was the best I thought Kostic played. If you really looked at him defensively, he actually looked like he could play a little bit of defense tonight. And that was the biggest step, I think, from even like the Bellarmine game, if you're going back to that, because he was like not playable against Bellarmine. He was playable and good tonight against a power opponent. It's still a work in progress. It's still coming along, but you can tell he's getting a little bit more comfortable. And, you scored 99 points, and Elias Rapique, who started and played 23 minutes, didn't score. So again, there's so many things with this offense that you're just like, it doesn't feel like they played super well, but got 99. They shot 3. They were 3 of 10 from 3 in the second half and still scored 44 in the second half and 99 total.
Well, so on the Kostic thing, yeah, he only played 9 minutes tonight, but the defense was better. He only got 4 shots off. 2 of them went in. He missed the 2 threes, though, and one of those was very noticeable at the end. You're like, that would have been nice if it went. It didn't. It was in that stretch where K-State wasn't making a lot of shots. So I thought tonight, more than anything, should have been encouraging, because the thing you don't have to worry about with Andre Kostic is his offense. He's going to be able to score against teams when the opportunity comes. And I mean, very strange that he ends up playing the least amount of minutes of guys that made it onto the floor tonight. Because I still think that like he's going to be a big part of this moving forward for K-State. So yeah, I'm with Drew here. I don't think it was a bad night for Andre Kostic. It's not coming as quick as people would like, and certainly how people like me sold it and was anticipating it looking, because I thought it was going to be a big 3 of Haggerty, Johnson, and Kostic, and then Bashir is kind of the side piece there. When in reality, it's It's those three, and then Kostic is an afterthought right now.
What would you have said to me way back when Abdi Bashir committed, if I told you that 3 games in, he would have a game with 5 assists?
I mean, I would have said this team really is scoring a lot because he had no choice but to get those assists, I guess.
Like, he was a legitimate playmaker tonight. Like, that's why, like, it felt like he had a better game than he ended up having statistically, because everything was just so loud when he was on the court. Like, he had the behind the back pass to Nate Johnson. He was just, it felt like his fingerprints were all over the court and all over the game. And now I'm looking, and he is averaging more assists than he did at Monmouth, and that was coming into tonight.
Here, a little nugget on top of this. He didn't record 5 assists in a game last season until January 9th. That was game 16. Funny enough, he did it against Kamari McGriff and UNC Wilmington, but he only ended up having, let's see, that's 2, 3. He had 3 games all of last year where he had 5 or more assists in a game. And I think that's something I wanted to bring up here is the beauty of how this team is working together. Like, we are seeing after 3 games already what this staff wanted to accomplish and how they wanted to improve, and kind of what we said they needed to do to get better. It wasn't that you needed to get more talented players than what you had last year. Now, look, I think they did, but you just needed to get dudes that had brains inside their skulls and that didn't hate each other and wanted to play for each other and wanted to play for the staff. And you've got a team that's going to go out and do that every single night. And Abdi Bashir is the epitome of it. I mean, this is a guy that last season, with the way that things were constructed for him, he took 18 shots a game for Monmouth. That's what they wanted him to do. His assist numbers, he was at 2.2 last season. He's come to K-State now. He's got 10 assists through 3 games, and he's only shooting less than 10 shots a game right now for Abdi Bashir. Like, that's a guy that is assimilated really well to the role that he can serve. And I think that's one of, if you had a concern about this team, it was, how is he going to fit into this? And I'll be honest, like, that was one of my lingering concerns for this team. But it's not relevant. Like, he's fit in perfectly. And Nate Johnson has looked like what you wanted and then some. Like, the scoring's been even more than I expected already from Nate Johnson. PJ Haggerty, I mean, he's pretty much been what you wanted. And again, he still hasn't played a good game at K-State. Like, he hasn't had that, oh my gosh, this is All-American PJ Haggerty. You're just getting, all right, yeah, he's a pretty good guard right now. So, like, this team, I mean, if they've played 3 frustrating games or average games, they're going to be really good. And I know that there's some people that, again, you're coming here and you're like, oh, it's Mason Voth, Mr. Rain Cloud about this basketball team or anything. And here I am telling you that after they almost crapped away a 20-some point lead against Cal, that I think this team's going to be damn good.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. The connectivity on offense and the ability to make the plays, and honestly, just like I told you in DY in the KSO chat, just the trust that these guys all have is just very remarkable through the 3 games with a pretty much entirely new team, to have that trust, the connectivity, and just the ability to not want to be selfish. Like, it is a much more fun team, and the vibes were high. That first half, I think that was the most fun I've had watching a basketball game since the Michigan State Sweet 16 game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. One of the questions, Frank in the chat, how do we blow a 21-point lead? Hey, they didn't blow a 21-point lead because they got the lead and they never gave it up. So they didn't really blow it. They did exactly what you're supposed to do, Look, I'm a little tongue-in-cheek about that. But look, like I said, I go back to the shooting thing. We hit it on it earlier. Cal was 25 points better 3-point wise tonight percentage points, that is. They were on their field goal attempts. They shot 5% more of their field goals were made up by threes tonight, and over 22% of their point distribution came from three relative to their first three. So, like, tonight was an anomaly for Cal. And also, the other thing in here that I have seen people throw out there about Cal's supposed to be a very bad team this year. Totally fair. They were not picked to finish high in the ACC. They're still in this weird turnover era. But what I think people have to understand here is that this is not the Cal team that K-State played in 2023 that was legitimately one of the worst teams in college basketball.
And only won that game by 5.
Yeah, not power conference basketball, but college basketball as a whole. This team came into tonight's game 80th in KenPom, and if you go and you look at how the ACC shakes down, like right now, they're actually better than where they were even picked to finish. They've got guys like the ACC. We talked about it yesterday as well. Is no longer this great conference. Like, from what I saw from them tonight, Dai Dai Ames is going to be an ACC all-conference team candidate this year. He's going to play well enough to get them some wins, and we'll talk about that in a second. Dai Dai Ames.
By the way, Cal in 2023, they were KenPom 270 in case they'd only beat them by 5.
Yeah, and that K-State team ended up working out pretty well, which is to also say that you can do well in the non-conference and still not show your full potential, because we didn't see the full potential of K-State until that game at Texas. And then it was like a totally different team from that point moving forward. But my point is that Cal looks like a team based off of tonight and the pieces they have. Again, I don't think they're going to shoot this well consistently or ever again, but they have enough pieces that are going to be decent to where, like, I think there's a better chance than not that they could finish middle of the pack in the ACC. There are some teams up there right now that were picked higher that you go, I don't really see how this is going to work out. So, yes, Cal is not good, but they're not horrible like they were made out to be. I mean, this is the Big 12 equivalent right now for Cal. If you're looking at it, and you would probably go into this and be thinking of, that's not that bad. TCU's 91st right now in KenPom. So
this is not beating Bellarmine by 3.
Yeah.
This is like beating a legitimate team with legitimate guys in a game where you're up by 25 at one point and you won the game by 3. Cal will be better than 16th in the ACC. And that's without really knowing a whole lot about the ACC outside of knowing who I think that they're probably better than after watching tonight.
Yeah. Let's talk, Drew, about Dai Dai Ames in his return. We did say yesterday it would kind of be nice if you didn't let Dai Dai Ames do what you let Cam Carter do for LSU last year. And look, you didn't let Dai Dai Ames walk out of the building with a win, and Coleman Hawkins didn't try to fight him at midcourt at the end of the game. So those are better starts to the year. But you did let him go for 25 and come darn close to winning the game. And really all I have to say here is Dai Dai Ames showed signs of becoming a good player. And, that last quarter of the season, his freshman year at K-State. And he was fine at Virginia last year, had some really good moments, had improved as a three-point shooter. But nothing could have prepared me to think that he was going to be this type of player. And now in hindsight, and even at the time, like, you could make this argument, maybe one of the biggest mistakes of Jerome Tang's time at K-State is bringing a player like Doug McDaniel in, not just because Doug is a disaster, which, by the way, nice loss, Memphis. They're already piling up L's with Doug McDaniel as their guard. K-State won that trade. But you lost Dai Dai Ames because you were, quote unquote, upgrading the roster a little bit. And that's where, it stings because, throw Dai Dai Ames into the mix and you'd be having a good time. Now, maybe you don't get Haggerty if you think this is happening. He may leave anyways. But that's not ever fun to see a guy of that level go and play like that. And the reason he left not be because like there was the coaching change. It was one thing to see Nigel Pack at Miami. You're just like, yeah, he played on teams that sucked. Coaching change. All right, whatever. I understand it. Dai Dai Ames walked out the door because, of other things. So
yeah, he's like legitimately a really good basketball player. I think that last year Virginia was a disaster, number one, because their coach, you put it nicer than I would have in the what to watch for.
he quit on him.
Yeah, I was about to say his coach quit 2 weeks before the season started, which that's a whole other argument for another day because Bruce Pearl quit at Auburn also.
Yeah, but at least, and I'm not saying like this is a good thing, but like at least for Bruce Pearl, it made sense because it was like hire my son. You have no other choice.
Well, Tony
like
Bennett,
at Virginia, it's like Tony Bennett didn't have his son sitting there to hand it off to. Like I get it when
no, but it was
not
his
that it's
best
right.
friend. It was his best friend.
But Drew, look, if I was the coach somewhere and I could resign and give the team to my daughter, I'd give it to her. I'm not resigning to give the team to you, though.
So Tony Bennett did quit, and they were just a disaster. And I don't think that was a good fit to begin with, because now you're seeing him in an offense that wants to play faster, because Cal also wants to play really fast, that he can really shine and get better shots. And yeah, it stings. And it mostly stings because of how bad last year was and how big of a disaster Doug was on and off the court. So, I mean, that part hurts. But you probably don't get Haggerty or you don't get Nate Johnson, or you don't get Abdi Bashir. And like, I think I'd rather still have those three guys than Dai Dai, maybe.
Yeah.
I could be talked into it either way.
Just for those of you that are curious on how Memphis has started their season, they beat San Francisco only by 6 points. And just as a reminder, Todd Golden hasn't been the coach there for a few years. So
Bill Russell ain't walking through that door.
And then they lost to America's least favorite divorced dad, Chris Beard, earlier this week. So, and look, hey, Doug is leading the team in scoring, though, shooting a whopping 25% from three and 33% from the field with 3.5 turnovers a game. So, he's balling out at least. We'll keep our eyes on what Penny and the boys do this year, because that's going to be fascinating to follow. That's kind of my Cincinnati this year. All the idiots in the national media that pick Memphis higher than K-State in like their preseason rankings. I'm like, what kind of problem goes on in your head to where you're thinking, oh yeah, this makes sense. Doug McDaniel better than PJ Haggerty. Memphis, gosh, that drove me nuts. Let's get into some of the comments because I want to get to those tonight. Appreciate everybody being active and being here, and we'll get into them. Zach says a win is a win, right? Yeah, that's kind of the idea of the non-con right now, because guess what? As not fun as that second half was for K-State, if they go and do the same thing to Indiana, a win's a win. Like if you're going to add these wins along the way, it really doesn't matter. And again, I think right now the best thing to do reference wise is to look back at the 2023 team. And you just talked about it, Drew. Like they beat Cal by 9 that year. They went to overtime with Nevada. They beat LSU kind of in a miracle fashion by 2, who was not good that season. They beat Wichita State by 5. They had that game before Christmas break against Radford that they only won by 8. Like, non-con teams don't play their best in the non-con always. You're going to get games like K-State had against UNCG where you just blast them. And it's fun and there's nothing to it. You played a power conference team tonight. You dominated most of it. It got weird at the end. You still came away with the win. That's all that matters.
I will add to that, if they win in Bloomington, I will not be saying a win is a win. I will be saying that this is a legitimately good team.
Well, true. I mean, this is a legitimately good team. They could lose in Bloomington, and I'm still saying that.
Yeah.
This team is, uh,
Well,
get your Seth Davis Sharpie out. This team is dancing this year.
oh wow, you're really going
I
for
mean,
it.
I said they were going to be a 6 seed before the season started. So, yeah, of course, I'm not going to change my mind.
That's valid. But I will say if they win in Bloomington, I guess instead of saying that this is a legitimately good team, that they will be closer to that 5 or 6 seed than that 8 or 9 seed that I have.
Yeah. EMA H5Q said we will simply outscore 90% of teams. Yeah, that's what we talked about earlier in the show, was that this team is going to have a lot of games where they are the better team, and then they're going to have some games where maybe they're not the better team, but because of the way they play, it's going to give them a leg up. And yeah, you're going to play your Houstons and your BYUs, and those are going to be tough ones. Matt asks, "What would Newman and Cal have done against K-State? Would what Newman and Cal have done against K-State with threes be due to our team's height?" I think in some ways it could be, but Newman's a little different because that team, that like K-State, was toying with a bunch of stuff. They weren't playing great defensively yet. Tonight, I thought the bigs for the most part were a little bit more helpful when they had some of the switches. Now there was one, Rapiak had a bad one. Bouka can be kind of frustrating at times, but we're about to talk about the good that he did tonight. So I don't know that it has as much to do with height in what's happened, because K-State's actually kind of big in terms of their perimeter players. Like, you look at it, I know Abdi Bashir is a twig, but outside of that, like, Haggerty's got some height to him. Nate Johnson's obviously got some substance there. So I don't think it had to do with height. I think it's just Cal had one heck of a night. And here's the beauty of it. There are a lot of coaches or players or people around college basketball that would look at what Cal did tonight, don't even show them what K-State did, and they would have said that Cal wins that game 99 times out of 100. When you shoot and play on offense like Cal did tonight and get that kind of performance out of guys that have never shot like that in their life, you don't think you lose that game.
And I don't think that it's about height either. Some of it in the second half was just kind of laziness at times, and that's where the defensive breakdowns happen, and you allow the guy to get by you and get to the basket, and they're going to kick it out to a 3 and then make it. I don't think I necessarily agree with that comment yet. I have seen enough from Kamari McGriff over the first 3 games to think that he can be a presence down low. Bouka, you're going to get some games where he's awesome, like tonight. I think you're going to get some games where you're like, holy crap.
So the comment from Street Crawler is, we'll see. I think this team will be in serious trouble if they play any team with size. Offensively, I think you're right. I think I'm with you, Drew. I don't have much concerns. I mean, we've seen Kamari McGriff already come out and just, like, the touch is there. It looks really good, and he's had some high scoring nights. Like, you can trust him in there.
Because
I think
Cal is a bigger team.
Yeah, I think he's going to he's going to battle defensively. I do still have questions. Like, I think this team, you might have some games where if the team is bigger and has skilled big guys, it's going to be like a real back and forth. You're going to have to deal with that and face that. But I think offensively, and this is where I'll bring up what 785 said, size has to guard us too and run with us. That is the whole philosophy on what K-State did. And you saw it best after it was, I can't remember at what point of the game was. They did it a lot. But I think it was late first half. Cal hit a shot, and it kind of felt like, oh, they might have something here. And they immediately get it in, and PJ Haggerty just flies down the floor, scores, boom, they get back and they go. Like, that is how K-State is playing, and that's the goal of this. And that's what K-State is going to be able to do to people, is that, yeah, if you want to go big against this team, because there's going to be some coach out there that thinks he's big braining it. He's like, this is how we beat them. We just throw these big guys out there. And then they're sucking wind 10 minutes into the game because K-State's got all these guys flying up and down the floor. And so, like, that's the beauty of how K-State plays, is that when they are undersized or they want to play really small, or, small relative to what they can do, they have a style that is conducive to doing that. And like, they're not just doing it and it's going to get them eaten alive. Like, they're going to go out there and they're going to stress teams when they play like this. Like, they can go small and still dictate how the speed and the style of the game goes and play it on their terms, as opposed to, again, a lot of times in basketball, if a team has a size advantage, you think they're going to be the ones to have the imposing of the will. But K-State, the way they're set up and the way this offense is built to function, they're going to be able to kind of neutralize that threat more times than not.
There's also not a lot of teams that are going to be able to play with a lot of size. That's just not how basketball works anymore. Like, there are a lot more teams in the Big 12 and across the country that are more like K-State, that will have like an Elias Rapik play the 4 or the 5 at 6'7", 6'8", that then have multiple 7-footers. Like I think Cal had multiple 7-footers. That's not really a thing that happens anymore.
Let's get into some Duran Bouka talk.
Yeah.
We had the Bouka Believers is the official supporting section of Duran Bouka now, as the thread was started by Good for Another on KSO tonight. So hop in there if you want. Look, he had a good night. He had some moments still where he just go, oh, why? But like, that's going to be part of the Bouka story. And Jerome Tang talked about this, is these European guys are having to adjust to a different style of game. They're having to kind of play different roles now, or being allowed to, because they were put into these boxes on their professional teams and everything. So he had a better night tonight. I still don't know that long term, like, it means anything for K-State, and that, like, I mean, Mike O'Donnell's on the broadcast saying that he's thinking Buka's going to be starting some games later in the year. And I'm like, I don't know that we ever get to that point. So I'm not a Bouka believer. And if you want to call me a Doreen denier, that I'm probably more on that side of things. But he played well tonight. And this is where now we talk about the depth on this team. And we know that Elias Rapiak's going to give you something like, we can go down the list and we know the guys that are starting and doing things, but he's going to provide you something on any given night. Bouka, same type of deal. CJ Jones, he did it last year, even though like he's a flawed player at times. David Castillo has proven himself now. Moby has his moments. We saw the Arizona game last year. Like, every guy that is a legitimate piece of this team, whether they're going to get 5 minutes a night or 35 minutes a night, is going to be able to have the chance to give you something that pushes you over the top and gets a win. And tonight is kind of what sealed it for Bouka. And here's the deal. The dude only scored 2 points. He took one shot tonight, but he was not a total liability on the floor. Although I will say there was a time where in the first half, Jerome Tang put 3 of the liabilities on the floor, like overall liabilities for season. I'm like, this isn't really good. This is going to stress out a lot of the guys that are out there. But it was a good night for Duran Bouka.
This was probably the best Doreen Bouka I think that you might get in terms of like what his raw stats look like. He was impacting shots. He had 4 blocks tonight and just in the 12 minutes. He impacted some other shots. He wasn't a total liability on offense. Like, he was a legitimate playmaker. A couple times he got the ball. So to see that and have that unlocked was fun. But there is going to be some nights, I think, where you probably can't have him out there. There's going to be some games out there like tonight where you're like, it's not so bad having him out there for 12 minutes. Because he is somebody that when he comes in, it just needs to be don't screw this up when you're out there for like 5 to 10 minutes. And every team has one of those players. It's going to be like, how do you own that role for that 5 to 10 minutes when you're out there? Uh, hmm. I see the Castillo needs to start. I don't know who I would put on the bench because I think they are too small. If you have Abdi
Well,
Bashir play the four.
also, I just think like David Castillo right now, the role is he's coming in, he's being the microwave, and you ride it for however long you can. So Monday night when Tulsa runs into town, like you're gonna throw him out there at some point, like 4 or 5 minutes into the game, and you're gonna hope that he stays hot. Like he's a legit guy that you can play on the floor right now and should be playing. So yeah, I don't think you start him because you're not going to take one of these guards off, and you're not like you're saying, Drew. You're not going to go really low in terms of your size, and he would definitely bring it down. You can't play that small. Like
No,
K-State can play small relative to some of the guys that are available, but you can't do it with David Castillo. That would kind of throw off the flow. Like if you're going to play small, Haggerty has to be the one. Bashir has to be the two. Johnson would be your three. Perfect world, it's Kostic at the four. And then you're going to put probably Kamari McGriff would be ideal, Elias Rapiak. And then if things, I don't know, apocalyptic situation, Moby is out there.
there's
I'm still
all
dying. Free Marcus Johnson, like
there's
the
also
conditioning can't be so bad that he can't play 30 seconds and chuck up about 4 shots, Come
I,
on.
I think it can be.
Free
That's the
him.
problem. The other issue with that,
Hey, look, if I was starting games for Prairie Hills Middle School back in 8th grade and getting in and getting my shots chucked up, Marcus Johnson can do it for the Cats.
there's also a world out there where you do play small, and if Castillo is having a really, really good game, and maybe Bashir's in foul trouble, or just it's not his night, that's when you go small with Castillo. Like I just don't think that you can take those three guards off the floor.
Well, and to that point, like that's what was awesome about tonight for K-State. Bashir could only was able to play just 9 minutes, and you could put Castillo out there for 14, and it didn't cost you. Like it helped you. So, and Kostic only played 6 in the first half. Like David Castillo, his role is pretty well defined now. What you could say is, and look, he played 23 minutes tonight. That's close to more minutes than I would have anticipated in a real game for him all season. Like he's kind of hitting a level where I don't know that there's much more for him, but he is also playing well enough that, again, not everybody's going to shoot it lights out every game. So if you have a game where Abdi Bashir is 0 for 9 from 3, you can say, hey, we're going to sit you in David Castillo. Like you're getting the 33 minutes tonight, and it's Bashir that's playing like 20 or whatever. Like he's playing really well, but he's not starting lineup material yet.
No, I agree with that. Where do you want to go next with these? I see one that I like. Is 20 wins a good number for this season?
Yeah, I've got that one flagged. Let me throw it up there from Kane asking if 20 is a good number for this season. I mean,
Yes.
Look, 20 selling this team short, Drew. I mean, they play.
You're really going for it after you're right.
No, I was going for it in the preseason.
That's true.
I like the pieces on this team. Look, and I want to put this out there too. I like this team as they are constructed. I like the way that they're going to play. I think this team is going to be good. This is not me signing off and endorsing on the future of this program under Jerome Tang and his staff. Like, even if this year goes really, really well, and this is another Elite Eight team, don't fall back into the trap of just blindly believing and getting excited and like riding or dying with these guys. Like, they're going to need to start backing it up, or you're at least going to have to condition yourself to be like, it's just they're going to take some years off and whatever, and maybe you're okay with that. So they've done a great job this year. This is not anything negative towards them, but I'm also not going to be positive towards them. Just live in the moment with this specific team. But like this team's going to play 30 regular season games. And I mean, the way it sits right now, like you're going to play 18 of them in the Big 12. I think this team is like 10-8 at worst there. And so then, what do you do in the other 12? Well, they've already got 3 of those locked down. And the way that they're playing on offense, I mean, are they really going to lose every game to, the 2 in Kansas City, Indiana, and Creighton? I don't think so. I think this team's going to be better than 20 wins. I mean, look, 20 would be great for them. 20 is going to put them in the NCAA tournament. But, I think this team, they won 23 regular season games in Tang's first year. I think this team is going to be in the vicinity of 21, 22, 23.
Yeah, like 20 is about where I would say right now. Still, I'm apparently a hater.
No, I'm just look. I think this team is going to be really good and better than what people anticipated, and what we've seen through the first 3 games of the year has not changed my mind on that. Now, when they gave up 90 to Newman, it almost did, but we're off that now. Newman's in the rearview mirror, just like me driving down on Kellogg. Like, I can't even see him anymore.
The third best school in Wichita.
Yes, that is some people are saying. But they are also proud to state that they are Kansas's only private NCAA institution. So, I mean, you decide who's actually best. Speaking of, Wichita State just pounded Loyola tonight. So take that, Sister Jean. KU, third best team in the state. People are saying, I've heard it from some.
People are asking.
Yeah. A couple other comments that we'll get to here because we've got a lot of them. I want to try to hit on it. Let's see. This Matt just mentioning PJ scored 23 walls, looking offish, and then talked about the Bouka pass. Yeah, the Bouka pass was nuts. And this goes to what we've said about PJ Haggerty. Like, he hasn't played a great game yet.
Yeah, he is so good that when he scores 23, it feels like he isn't really doing anything. Like that. I kind of hate that for Haggerty because you're already kind of seeing it like 3 games in where it's like, all right, just another game. And he scored 23.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like, I think he's kind of forcing it to start games a little bit, or he hasn't looked comfortable at the start. Once the game gets going, he settles in. So when he gets to the stage of like he's ready to go from the jump, that's when you're going to get one of those Haggerty 35, 40-point games this season where he just feels unstoppable. I thought this was a good comment from Dylan. I'm tired of acting like this team is playing their best. They've played 3 actual games together. When they put 40 total minutes together, they will be fine defensively. I think that's a great point where, number one, either they're fine defensively, or number two, it doesn't matter because, like we've talked about here, they've been flirting with 100 points. They haven't gotten there yet. This team is very clearly going to score 100 at some point this year. And there was a comment earlier about they're going to outscore 90% of the teams they play. Just like they are, like 3 games for a brand new team playing together to be this like fluid on offense is really impressive and really special. So this team is going to continue to get better. And we definitely haven't seen their best. And you know what? If their worst is getting up by 20 some points and just coasting to a win and against a team that shot the lights out, that's a good spot to be in.
We can go to the Indiana comment next because I got some thoughts there.
I know Drew's fired up about the points they're going to be scoring this game. And he's not even Mr. Offense like I am.
Yeah, that game is going to be bananas from what we've seen from Indiana and K-State so far. If you might need to fix the graphic with space because I don't think that you're prepared to have 3 digits on both sides.
Oh, don't worry. I've tested it already. So it will be ready to go. The big one, when I flash that up there, it's already perfect. It's ready to go to pop in 3 digits. The smaller one, we're going to have to toy with some things, but
that will be fun. I'm very excited for the games in Kansas City next week. The first game is on my birthday. So there's a fun fact. They could either go really poorly or really well, depending on how the game goes, because that's a 9:30 tip for me.
Let's get this one from 785. This team legitimately He cleaned it up. This team could legitimately be more talented than 2023. Where do you stand on that, Drew? Because like they're definitely. We said it before the year. They're deeper for sure. I think on this team in terms of who could step up. It's we're going to have to wait to see, can it be sustained throughout the year when you face better teams than Cal? Are your top ends going to be able to hit the top end that Noel, Johnson, and I think Desi Sills to me was the third guy on that team. Like what that trio could create, are you going to be able to do it here? I mean, there's a legitimate chance that they can.
Yeah, I'm there if you're talking depth and like top to bottom talent. This team probably doesn't have 2 All-Americans, but probably has 1.
Yeah.
Duran Bouka.
Chase says, RIP, Sister Jean. Do you want to get banned? I mean, not in this dojo. Look, sorry, Sister Jean. Wish you were still here. As a human, as a mascot for Loyola, get out of town. I don't want to hear from you ever again.
Loyola has had that loss to Wichita State, and they had an ugly loss last week too.
They've had a few gross losses this year already. Not to make this the Rambler minute, but they lost by 8 to Mercyhurst. They lost a heartbreaker to North Texas, and then Wichita State just obliterated them tonight, 95-74. I mean, how about Paul Mills's boys? 16 of 32 from 3 tonight.
Man, the K-State Wichita State series ended too early because that would also be a game to 100.
Well, maybe we could get signed up for that one still. I don't know. We'll see how it ends up going. A couple of the other comments that I had starred. Nick said this felt like an NBA game. Yeah, and you know what? Like, also kind of the point with what K-State's trying to do on offense. And you know, Bill Peterson's here. He's got NBA experience. Like, this is what the NBA is like. You go, you get your shot, and this kind of goes to, you know, K-State and their average possession time this year is 14 seconds. That's 13th in the country. Jerome Tang talked about like the European guys are adjusting to the longer shot clock because it's shorter. It hasn't really mattered.
No, I'm having a lot of fun. Like, it is NBA-esque in terms of the shot selection and shot making is at a level that we have never seen at K-State before.
Yeah. Another one from Dylan. The only thing I'm worried about is free throw shooting. That's just like a perennial K-State concern. This team should be better there as it goes along. Tonight was weird. There have been some weird games. I think it should be better, but that is one thing to keep an eye on because we know that free throws are going to kind of dictate your outcomes in close games. Another one that I wanted to point out, Big 12 fan, he was kind of giving it to somebody. Who knows if they're even here, the guy he was trying to give it to, going after Ugo again, which, hey, look, we don't praise Sister Jean in the chat, but we can slander Ugana and Yinso. That's fine. Condoned. That's free game. Duran Bouka better than Ugo. Yeah, he's already given you more than Ugo. So I'm as much of a skeptic as I was on Bouka. Yeah, he's better than Ugo already. Like, I would rather take my chances with Bouka than Ugo on the floor.
He looks 25 times more athletic than Ugo did at any point last season.
I mean, Bouka actually is blocking shots like Onyenso was supposed to.
Exactly. You know? By the way, this is just a general comment and shout out. The chat has been electric tonight.
I mean, they're on their game tonight.
This is one of the more fun ones that we've had. Is Mississippi State going to be any good? Iowa State beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
A couple nights ago. So I'm really not sure. They're supposed to be pretty good, but
yeah, they're supposed to be fine. I think that's a game K-State should win both games in Kansas City. So we'll see how that ends up.
If they win the first one, I agree. First one's going to be tough.
Nah, they got this. They got this.
Mississippi State is a team stylistically that I think could give K-State some trouble.
Yeah. You are right about the chat tonight. They deserve a lot of praise. This is
electric.
A performance that would be, back when I was doing radio in Manhattan, David Garcia and I would call a lot of games together. And one of our sponsors, golly, I can't even remember who it was now. Man, it's going to kill me. But their tagline was put your name on it. They would say it like multiple times in their commercial. And so we liked that. And so after every game, we would go and just say who put their name on tonight's game. Like if somebody put their name on tonight's game, it's the chat. Or I came back from a Royals game one time and listened to the 610 post-game show, and the guy gave player of the game away to the fans because it was like 35 degrees against the Mariners, early April. Some rain came down, some weird stuff. That's the kind of performance that we're getting out of the folks tonight. So
you never go to a normal Royals game. It's always like super cold or like something crazy happens at the game.
Well, it's part of it is because early in the season I want to be there. It's perfect to go on my birthday since April 2nd, so I go then a lot. But yeah, so that game against the Mariners really cold. The Royals scored a ton of runs. A position player ended up pitching, and then I went back that weekend on a Saturday, and it snowed the final 2 innings against the Angels. The next day, they postponed the game. Shohei Ohtani got scratched as a starter, and they move the game to later in the year because of it. But yeah, you're right. I do go to some weird games.
I'm like thinking about some of these other comments that I keep seeing here. Wednesday at the top 25. Probably need to beat Indiana. Probably need to win every game up until the Indiana game and then beat Indiana.
Yeah, and we'll see, because right now they still only have one voter, the same guy that initially started them at 15th this year, and now he's moving down to the 21st. So
we should have gotten that. We should have got that guy.
I tried. I have DMs with him. He acted like he was too busy to hop on the KSO show for 10 minutes. And then the mob got to him and like forced him to change it. Like, I don't know. K-State looks like a top 15 offense to me.
If you just watch them on one end of the court, they'd be a top 1 team in the country.
Yeah, best team in America right now on offense. And if you think about it, the 22-23 team, they didn't show up in the rankings until after, and they were 12-1 going into this week. They didn't pop up in the rankings until they had that week where they beat Texas on the road and then Baylor in overtime, and then they skyrocketed to what it was like. Was it number 11?
Yeah, they debuted very high.
Yeah, so like it takes a lot when you're not ranked, especially when the seasons prior you haven't been a team that people can trust and put some faith into. But certainly if they go on the road and were to beat Indiana, it's going to give them a look. I think they could probably sneak in at 24, 25, maybe higher if they win, their next however many games. And then at that point, you're really not threatened to lose a game until you go on the road at Creighton in mid-December. Now, if they lose to Indiana, which as much fun as we're all having, and as likely as I am to pick K-State to win that game, they probably don't win in Bloomington. And so then the clock is going to reset. And the other thing you have to look at is the first 2 Big 12 games of the year are BYU and Arizona. So it really may not be until the end of January when K-State pops up in the rankings the first time. That game against West Virginia or the game against Utah, that could be the first game that K-State plays with a number next to their name.
Yeah, and that's if they only go 1-1 in Kansas City, lose in Bloomington, lose in Omaha. I could not remember where Creighton was there for a minute.
It happens.
But like that's like the most likely losses in the non-con. But if they win all of those, they could be ranked to start conference play. Book it.
All right. Yes, Achor. He is on Mississippi State. I mean, riddle me
And
that, Batman.
and
How
does
he's
wear
able
number
to play on that
99.
team.
And does wear number 99.
Yeah, really though. Can we explain the NCAA? Achor should not be allowed to play this year, right? Like, come on.
If Tyreek Smith can't, Achor shouldn't be able to either.
Yeah, come on. What a strange situation that was last year. All right. Well, we'll close things down here. Chase did say, what do we come out of the non-con at? I mean, this team's going to play 12 non-con games. I think 10-2 is the most likely outcome at this point in time.
I still think 9-3.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're ending it on that. I mean, what the heck? Why? Name the 3 losses then.
At Creighton, at Indiana, 1 in KC.
No, this team's not losing in Kansas City.
Mississippi State stylistically just scares me.
Get out of here. All right, that'll do it for KSO Postgame Live tonight. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for Drew Galloway's performance for the first hour and 4 minutes. The last 2 very questionable because he is a hater. This team is a good basketball team. Don't let anybody talk down to you about what happened in the second half. Cal got ungodly hot. They won't shoot that way again. This is a good basketball team. The Cats are good, and even better, the Cats are fun. We'll be back again with another post-game live for Basketball Monday after K-State takes on Tulsa. But don't forget, we do this after football games, so we'll talk to you Saturday sometime a little after 2 after K-State faces Oklahoma State. So one more time for Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Voth. Thanks for watching and listening to K-State Online.